we're going to get into a little more detail on the criminal side of things. It's conversations you have with your client, with the attorney and the client, are privileged conversations. So the kid tells you yes something doesn't necessarily mean, he tells you yeah I did it, doesn't necessarily mean that, it just means that that's the strategy in the case. It's not about what the client's telling you, it's about what the state can prove. The state's the one that's holding the cards. They have to be able to prove it. So not always you'll be testified on the stand. And I didn't do it as much. I testified under certain other issues. Not necessarily what I did because I'm the behind the scenes guy. Yeah, all right.
Now my question is, how can you help, or how can you be a help for a person that is child molested? For example, they hire you, but when you're interviewing people and you know they have a record, so what do you do? How you can help this person because what he is doing, you know,
He's being accused of something. I use he as an example because there's she's out there too. He's being accused of something. He's being accused of it. You got to make sure that that accusation is correct because they're saying he did it. Is there times when people have been falsely accused? Yes. Have I dealt with it? Yes. Many times. Okay? So that's your role is to say, okay, remember we talked about that with like when you're talking about divorce cases? When all of a sudden you have a divorce case that's going on, and all of a sudden somebody's accusing somebody of molestation, but in the middle of a divorce. A red flag should pop up, right? That's what our job is to look for those red flags. And sit down, and I've had I've had clients sit down with me and just go, yeah, I did that. I molested the kids, I did all that stuff. So my focus goes more from, okay, going to trial, to how do we get this guy some help? And then I'm sitting in with Kathleen's boss going, I need an evaluation of this guy. How serious is this problem? Then it's more, our focus is more not necessarily working on the case, it's working on the case, but it's focusing more on how do we get this guy through the system? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You see? Because there's always, you gotta understand, it's never, what you see on TV is not the same. It's never cut and dry. You're not gonna have like in the old Matlock TV shows where the guys on the stand, I did it, no. There's ethical roles we have too. One of the ethical roles on that is the lawyer has ethical roles as well. The lawyer can't put somebody on the stand knowing full well they're gonna lie. Okay, you don't wanna do that. It's gonna backfire. There's other triggers like that. It's like you watch all these TV shows where you see this young girl who was molested by maybe a teacher, or you see the young girl sitting on the stand crying, and you see the lawyer walking up yelling at the young girl, and you're a liar, okay? You can't do that. Because what happens is you look over at the jury, and the jury's getting kicked off. And the jury, how's the jury going to respond? They're going to light up your client. Your client's going to prison for a long time. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things to kind of look at. So we've got the system, and then in the court system, we've got the game. And I'll tell you this as a criminologist, it is a game. There's players, and there's strategy. It's like playing chess. Okay? You're moving pieces. That's the way our system works. We just have to, and don't feel like, it's media driven that will tell you, you're going to walk away going, that guy molested all these kids, and he all of a sudden he's going to be found not guilty, he's going to go, ha ha, cool, he's going to walk. That's TV. Okay? Because generally when the state's got cases like that, they kind of know who they're going after. And they've done their homework as well most of the time. Not all the time. So it's not like you get the guy and you're found not guilty, it's more like he was found not guilty because the government couldn't prove the case. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's it. Think of it in that context rather than, because I first have to talk about this because we have a lot of students sometimes who just don't, who think, I can't work on criminal cases like that. Pull yourself out of it. It's not doing it. It's like, how can I represent somebody who's been in trouble or who's done something like that? That's irrelevant. Your job is to assist this guy or person or through the system. You're going to do that. You know, and sometimes the best advice is going to the client going, "Dude, we're screwed. I mean, here's the best." I went and talked to, he said he had these two witnesses to talk to. I talked to those two witnesses. They're not helpful.
Basically, you go to help them saying if you go to trial,
And there's many times we go to trial, and I've been in those conversations where we've said, we go to trial, we're going to die. The client's the one who makes that decision. I want to go to trial. Okay, you're going to die. Am I going to give less than 150%? No. It's because the evidence we're evidence experts. We look at that evidence and we have to make determinations based on that evidence. Okay? And we're giving advice to the attorney going, here's what I'm seeing. I've interviewed this person. It's not helpful. Okay? Credibility issues. I've interviewed them. They sound really credible. Okay? Or the type of person they are, the victim, is a very credible victim. Okay? It's going to hurt us. So what do we do? You make your call. You say, look, here's what I'm thinking. That's what they're paying you to do. Okay? All right. So any questions on that? Everybody got that? Does everybody kind of see that side of the criminal justice or what we do, the system, and what our role is? Okay? It's a fun role. It really is. It's not something that is dangerous. I've never seen it that way. Because you're helping people. You know, I've worked cases where serial killers, people have murdered and raped multiple people. Again, I'm not in there going, you're a great guy, let's go drinking after we get you not guilty. No, that's not what we're doing. My role is to look at the evidence and help you make decisions based on that evidence. They've got a videotape of you doing this. Okay? Let's go back and look at the example of this kid at Stanford. They've got two witnesses who showed up to the scene and caught him. Were they two prostitutes who were under the influence of crack cocaine? No. Were they credible witnesses? Yes. That credibility level. Credibility is everything in this business. Okay? Go back to the original OJ trial. Credibility was everything. Is Mark Furman a good detective? Absolutely. Is he a great police officer? Absolutely. I wrote a book chapter on him. And was he good at what he did? Absolutely. Did he make stupid mistakes? Yes. He lied? Yes, he lied. What happened? Everything else, his credibility was destroyed. That's it. I've had cases before, which I told you about, where police officer said that, I didn't harm him, I didn't hit our guy, I didn't punch him in the face, didn't do anything. And all of a sudden I subpoenaed the hospital records and found out that because our client was saying that he was beat up by the cop, cop said on the stand, no, I never did that, I never punched him at all. I was able to subpoena the hospital records where the police officer had his hand stitched and he told the nurse, I beat the crap out of that guy. Now, did our client probably deserve it? Could be. Did our client do some bad stuff? Could be. But its credibility is everything. He lied. Okay? Doesn't mean he lies in that because you don't want a system where the people are not credible. You want people, now, in our business, you're not always going to get credible people. Okay? But it's a matter of convincing these 12 people that this is what did or did not happen. Okay? So, let's talk about the criminal justice system for a second. Where does it all start? Where does all of this start? It starts at a crime.
Corrections.
No, you're there. You're getting there. But where does it really all start? It starts at a crime. What is a crime? Crime is a violation of the law. Violation of the law. What do you mean a violation of the law? What laws? Okay? In Texas, we have the Penal Code. The Texas Penal Code, which is laws that have been created for what reason? Why do we have laws in the first place? To keep some sort of order, keep people safe.
Make busybodies feel better.
Yes, that could be too. Yes, absolutely. What else? What's another reason why we have laws?
Revenue.
What?
Revenue.
Revenue? Yeah, that's probably. No, you're right on that one. What about morality? Is there morality in there? Look at some states on prostitution. Okay? You know, I had this conversation with one of my grad students, and she got really upset with me, but that's just kind of the fun that we have with our grad students, is I made the argument to her, cases like prostitution, okay, which is illegal in the state of Texas, and people say, oh, it's illegal in Nevada. It's legal in Nevada outside the major cities. So it's not like you can go to Vegas and pick up a prostitute. No, sorry. Did I ruin your weekend? Sorry. No. What happens is the argument I made was, when it comes to prostitution and how it kind of ties into morality is, you have a guy who, if I go into QT store to buy a soda, and I get my soda, and I put it on the table, okay, that's what I want, because I'm thirsty. I pay QT money for that soda, right? And then they take my money, say thank you, and leave. That's a consensual relationship, right? I mean, I'm not stealing it. I'm not walking out of it, dumping it. I'm not stealing it and taking off with it. But it's a consensual relationship. Prostitution, you have a person who wants a good, or service really, service, pays for it consensually, okay? It's not sexual assault, it's not anything like that, pays for it, okay? It's consent between two adults. They're paying for a service. How is that different than, it's a business model, how is that different than me purchasing a drink at QT? You're getting into the morality issue here. It's because there's other offshoots of other issues that come from prostitution. Okay? Could be drugs. You have sex trafficking, absolutely. You have things like, you have diseases and things like that. So you have a lot of things that come off that. So that's why it's become, but it's really a morality issue and how things are. Drugs, certain drugs are a morality issue too. Marijuana laws, you'll see a lot of that stuff. It's a morality issue that they kind of wrap it up into. It's essentially sometimes who's making the laws is the one invoking the morality. Okay? Because have we ever had laws that were, something was legal and it's no longer legal, or it was illegal and it's now legal?
Prohibition?
Prohibition, great example. Okay? So you see that, and laws are like that. Crimes are like that. You're starting to see, especially with marijuana laws, because back in the 60s and 70s, possession of marijuana was a felony. I mean, you went to prison. Okay? You went to prison for marijuana. So today, it's actually down to a Class B, Class C misdemeanor as well, such as a small level misdemeanors, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and that stuff. So, okay? So it starts from the crime. Okay? It has to be a violation of the law. So, where does that law come from? Like I said, it's the Penal Code, the Texas Penal Code. If you Google it, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? You can buy books on it. I've got a book up here that I use called O'Connor's. This is essentially the books that, there's this one, I've got another one too, that a lot of the attorneys use. And essentially each crime, each violation of the law is broken down into what we call elements. Each element is what the government must prove in order to say that you violated that law. Now, let me randomly pull one out here and read it to you.
That's Texas.
Texas, yes, absolutely. Let me find it. Let me find a good one here. Assault. Okay? 4 different elements. All 4 elements have to be proved. A person is element number 1. Now, why do we have to prove it has to be a person? A person.
Instead of an animal.
The person who is, yes, the person, a person. If I'm assaulting you, the government has to prove that a person, and the reason why it says person is because you look at issues like, what if it was an animal? Can you be charged under this, under 2201, assault, for harming an animal? Listen to what I just said. Can you be charged under 2201 assault for harming an animal? Why? It doesn't meet that element. Now let me throw a little something else in the mix too. Is a person, I don't want to get into too much debate on this, but a person, does that include a fetus?
Yes.
The answer is maybe.
Yeah.
Under the law, under this law, it doesn't. Now, what the legislature has done is said, okay, we're going to break up other laws. Because there was a case a number of years ago where a guy got into an argument with his girlfriend, she was pregnant, and he punched her in the stomach to induce an abortion. Okay? So now the question is, under this, it was hard for them to prove, under this, the way I'm reading it to you, that it wasn't a person, because of the way the law was written originally, it wasn't a person. Now, there's other ways that they would charge somebody, not under this. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. So you're going to see that. They just added another law. A person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly, remember those words, intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly, causes bodily injury. Okay, that's the third one. A person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causes bodily injury to another, including the person's spouse. It's interesting that they added that. Why do you think they added that? What? No, there was a time when assaulting your spouse was legal. Yes. Okay? So, but they didn't put that in the law. Now, of course, they've added it, and that's why we have all the domestic violence laws and stuff like this. Okay? So there was a time where you would have to prove it under something else. Well, if a man beat up his wife, it would be under something else that was a lesser offense. But no, it's straight assault. Let me get you something a little more current. Sexual assault. Is it possible for a man to rape his wife?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. The way the law was written previously, many years ago, that didn't apply in the law. Okay? Don't take it personally and such as emotionally here. It's just how the law was written at the time. Now they've started to change that because the law is constantly changing on a regular basis. Okay? So, a person intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly causes bodily injury to another, including one spouse. So, the question here is, intentionally, they knew what they were doing. Knowingly, they knew it was wrong, or recklessly, such as they did something that caused, they acted in bad, I guess, bad judgment. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. We'll break that down into later, but bad judgment and cause somebody to be harmed. So it falls under this. Now, this then translates to the punishment. Okay? This translates to what's the punishment is. Now, in Texas, for assaults, the punishment is generally higher based on the amount of harm that's done. Does that make sense? What? And if there's a woman? A weapon, yes. That changes things too. It does, it should, right? Absolutely. So what it does is it increases the punishment. All right? All right, let's take 5 minutes, come back. If it's not, then let's keep going. All right? You excited? Actually, you're